Good morning, Barry. I got a
Good
thought for
morning.
you this morning to begin with. Establishing the proper destination is essential in establishing the proper walk. Let's say, for instance, that you and Laura,
Wait. Just back up there and don't run by that. Say that one more time.
establishing the proper destination is essential in establishing a proper walk.
Okay.
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 So let's
Got
say
it.
that you got it. You got that.
I got it
Let's
now.
say that you and Laura are going on or went on a hypothetical anniversary trip. Happy anniversary, by the way.
Happy anniversary to
And
my wife.
yeah, and so you decide to put in you decide you're going to go to a certain town, and you put it in on your phone, and you put in like, let's say the name Franklin, okay, or Clayton, both of which have multiple states in which they have a city in that's named that. Clayton, there's 18 of them. Okay. So let's just use that you're going to go to Clayton, Georgia. That's where you want to go. But instead, you click on Clayton, New Mexico.
Okay.
Okay. I've been to both. Is there going to be any real similarities outside of getting out of Gloucester? As soon as you get a few miles from Gloucester and can no longer see Gloucester, you're going on different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Your stays are different. Your hotels are going to be different. Your gas stops, your Laura stops. Yeah, I'll pay for that one later.
Yeah.
Everything about it is going to be different. So let's use that as a foundation of, if the enemy can cause us to change the our biblical destination to a non-biblical destination, then he can now control the walk that we have in getting to that non-biblical destination. Are you following me, sir?
Yes, I think so. I'm working.
Okay. So as soon as the early congregation, which was in Jerusalem, we see in the book of Acts, the first congregation, the first kahal, it wasn't called a church, didn't have a New Testament, but that early congregation was in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
It was based out of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
When the disciples had their first meetings, they came to Jerusalem. When Shaul came back off of his trips, he went to Jerusalem. But very soon, as soon as we get away from the book of Acts just a little bit, to where it's, just kind of now out of the view of our rear view mirror, Marcion, Constantine, the Gnostics, various ones tell us, well, your destination in the end is not Jerusalem, it's heaven. So we have songs, I'll fly away, O glory. When we all get to heaven, I've got a mansion over the hillside. Whereas the scripture tells us that our destination is Zion. Isaiah chapter 2, the Torah will go forth from Zion, the word from from Jerusalem, the word from Mount Zion. So if the enemy can trick us into a wrong destination, even though in our minds that destination is like, wow, that sounds good. Floating on clouds, playing harps, and little naked baby angels, all that kind of stuff. And then we write songs about it. You should write a song, Barry, the Naked Baby Angel song. No?
I'll let Cletus do that. No.
Cletus could do that, okay? But so if we're going to change all of these things of the 7 sins, it is paramount that we change back to our biblical definition or our biblical destination. And if we do that, I believe that everything else will then begin to line up. Your thoughts?
Well, which one do we go with first?
You said you wanted me to be inspired while you were praying, so
I needed
that's
to
why
pray
that
shorter,
prayer
I
took
think.
30 minutes.
I prayed too long. My first thought is, as you mentioned, I do need to wish my wife happy 42nd anniversary. Someone said something other last night or within our hearing or something other about someone celebrating 50 years. And I'm thinking, gee, we're not that far off.
Yeah.
Anyway,
ahead of you.
So anyway, my beautiful bride is very highly favored to have had 42 years of ministry.
Well, as with my wife, both of our wives have lasted the testing longer than the Hebrews in the wilderness.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
I want to pick up on where you were saying that the original focus and center was Jerusalem. There was an issue in that initially everybody wanted to hang out in Jerusalem, even though Yeshua had said, you will spiral outwards to Judea, Samaria, and all of Israel, and then to the uttermost parts of the earth. Persecution came and forced them into that process. So when they went out to wherever it was that they were forced out to, or as they chose to travel, they had a choice, Mike. Do we make the message fit the location where we are? If we're going to take it to Greece, for example, which they did, many of the cities that, Corinth and Thessalonica and Ephesus, do we make this message fit to their local culture and doctor it to the place that they can more easily accept it and make it more palatable to them? Or do we keep it focused on Jerusalem and ask them to change the entire focus of their walk in life from that of being Greek to being more Hebraic? And it would seem that the end result, whatever their initial intent was that we became culturally adaptive to the message. What Hebraic Roots Community has, in some parts, sought to do is to reintroduce the Hebraic focus, hence our identifying terms, to where we understand, okay, I'm not supposed to just take this gospel and live as an everyday average American, but there has to be a reintroducing of the values of the Torah, the lifestyle of the Torah, the manner of business and family and worship. All of these components needs to return back to an original Torah foundation, which contains the understanding that when I choose the place where I will put my name, you are to focus your worship there. There is where your altar is. There is where my name's house will be. There is the center. Don't build your backyard altars and make it convenient for you. Wherever we build an altar for the sake of convenience, we become our own priest. If I build an altar in my backyard, and I have not done that, so don't write me. But if I were seeking to replace whatever necessity I see of Jerusalem as the center point of Yahweh's focus and create some sort of structure or point of focus in my backyard to where I leave off any intention of ever needing to go to Jerusalem or to ever expect that the king will be centered there. My center of focus and worship and so forth is right conveniently in the backyard.
Okay.
Then I have set myself up as my own priest with my own set of protocols. And as such, I can begin to declare my own doctrines because, after all, it's my altar. And I am the priest of my own altar. And therein, I think, Mike, is where when we culturally adapt the gospel, the word, the Torah to whatever our personal preferences are in our culture, we begin to walk in error. We lose Yah's particular focus. There is this need that we never forget Jerusalem. I've said it many times. You've mentioned it as well, and you're free to copy it again if you want to. But when Yah's focus is on the earth, it's on Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Franklin, North Carolina, Gloucester, Virginia is in his peripheral vision, which he sees very, very, very clearly, down to the last minute detail. But the center of his gaze is on the city of the king, where his kingdom will be established and then will be worldwide in its effect and reign. We need to adapt Yah's vision and realize there's a little place, by comparison to the rest of the earth, on a plateau in the city of Jerusalem, where Yah's primary focus and gaze is located. And we cannot cease in our prayers and affections toward Yah until his house is reestablished and his kingdom has come. Yeshua did not ask us to pray that his influence would just fill the earth. He said, let your kingdom come and your will be done on earth. That on earth is not just the earth as a whole, it's in Jerusalem in particular. The earth will not know shalom until Yeshua's house is built in that city and on that plateau.
You said his kingdom will come to that place. I've got to take a little bit of exception with that, because in Psalm 2, I'm reading it in English, I'm not looking at it in Hebrew, but in Psalm 2, one that you and I have taught on many times, he who sits in the heavens laughs, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh looks at them in derision, then in his anger he rebukes them, terrifies them in his fury, and he says this, I myself have installed my king on Zion, my holy mountain. So you and I are saying that the kingdom is coming. The kingdom will be, but in his mind, the kingdom already is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this week's Torah portion, when Abraham went up to Mount Moriah, by the way, that is Zion. When he goes up to Mount Moriah, he takes his son. He says, on this mountain, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is seen. I personally believe that he was given a vision of the kingdom already established upon this earth.
Mm-hmm.
So let me take it a different way here, Barry. To forget one's past, or to forget one's beginning, is a step in forgetting their identity.
Okay.
Okay. So if you ever forget that you're from Grassy Creek,
I can't forget that.
now that the chances of that happening are not real good.
No.
Okay? But if you ever forget that you're from Grassy Creek, the person, Barry Phillips, is going to change. We first of all would have to delete Cletus, which
Might be able
I
to.
do know one lady that you're married to that might say that's a good thing. But, I mean, the other, most of the rest of us are entertained. But there would be so much about who you are that would change. So it's not only about our destination being changed, but our past, our where we came from, our foundation. I grew up Southern Baptist, so of course the denominational headquarters was Nashville, Assembly of God, Springfield, Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee. Salute when you say that. Yes, because that became, so it was like the denominations are kind of like what you were talking about of the altar in the backyard. So every one of those denominations and the other, however many thousands there are, have. Let's go to the Catholic Church in Rome. Let's go to Judaism with the Talmud in Tiberias. Okay, whenever we take our beginning and say that it, no, it didn't happen there, it happened over here. That's the same as building the altar in your backyard and then writing your own book of how life should be.
Mm-hmm.
So the word Zion is a fascinating word. I won't go into the whole thing, but the word Zion, if we look, the man who's called the man after Elohim's own heart, David, King David, he is, though he didn't write all the Psalms, but it's called the Psalms of David. Many of them are. In the book of Psalms, the word Zion is there 37 times. In the prophet Isaiah, 46 times. In Jeremiah, 17 times. In Zechariah, it's like 10 or 12 times. The first use is when David takes over the city that's called the city of David and calls it Zion. So the scripture seems to tell us that Zion, Jerusalem, is a very important place. In fact, David said, if I forget you, O Jerusalem, may my right hand, lose its power, and may my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth.
Right.
And we go verse after verse after verse. So with that, let's transition to this of what does it mean to have a love for Zion, our common birthplace and our common destination. If the rabbinical sources are right, and the Creator took the dirt to form Adam and Eve from what we would call now the Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, then this was a place of our birth. This will be place of our destination.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it mean to love? Is it now relegated to a political focus, a political party? Is that truly the love for Jerusalem, that we stand politically?
There's several ways I could answer that.
Okay.
It's possible. Well, I understand the sentiment that you're espousing there, that if our affection for Israel and Jerusalem in particular is only based on politics, because it is the accepted focus of a particular slant of politics in America, then we're just riding with the crowd. We're only doing what is the popular, trendy, acceptable thing to do.
Yeah.
Our acknowledgement of Jerusalem has to supersede that. It has to go beyond the political, without denying the political importance. We should have a different primary importance on it. You mentioned a phrase out of Psalm 137. about if I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget, let my tongue cleave to my palate. If I do not remember you, if I do not exalt Jerusalem above my chief joy. It starts out in that 137 by the rivers of Babel.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
sat
Exile.
down and wept when we remembered Sion. We hung our lyres, our harps in the willows in the midst of it. And they were asking, can you not sing us one of your songs of rejoicing? How can we sing the song of Sion in a strange or foreign land? The sentiment is, if we lose our affection and our central focus on that city and on that particular area, then we have lost a significant portion of our worship. We don't worship the land. We don't worship the city. We worship the one whose name is inscribed there.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yah's heart, one of Yah's most primary heart-focused agendas is, and it will come to pass, is to see his son established and seated on that plateau as king. Revelation 11 says that the kingdoms of this world, the reigns of this world, have, past tense, become the kingdoms of our Messiah.
Yeah.
It is after that, then, that the anti-Messiah is introduced and a competitive kingdom is going to be established that will fail. It succeeds initially, but fails because it doesn't have Jerusalem rightly at its focus. I've shared this many times as well. Whatever in the earth is going on, whether it's the Russo-Ukrainian war or China going after Taiwan or the economies of the world, the next agenda of plagues or whatever may take place, everything in its final destination is to push and pressure all of the world's focus on Jerusalem. We may not recognize how we can get from point A to that point B or not, but that's what it is. Matter of fact, Jerusalem is point A, and we're all at point B being squeezed backwards to point A again, to our very foundation. That's Yah's plan, to make Jerusalem the sieve in which the nations of the earth will be determined as to whether they will be judged or not. Individuals judged or not. And you might say, well, you're replacing Messiah with Jerusalem. No, they are intricately combined. Yeshua is the Messiah who will be in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is the city of the King.
Yeah.
You can't separate the two. No, we don't worship Jerusalem. No, we don't worship the wall. No, we don't go up and worship the Temple Mount. But I'll never forget, I think it was in 2015, Mike, they had built this wooden chute, like covered walkway up to the Temple Mount. And I was standing on that. Worship broke out in the plateau area, or the plaza area is the right word, right underneath me. And I saw women start worshiping and singing songs. And there was an old rabbi on the other side of the gender dividing fence. And he was leading them in worship. At the same time, young yeshiva students were studying around a table just over from them, and they broke out in song and started jumping and dancing and banging on the table for their beat type to dance it. I've got that on video.
Oh.
And I stood there, and the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, swept all over me, and I realized we don't own worship. We don't have a corner on that market. These people, in their perspective and in their understandings, they worship him as passionately as we do. But it's
I would
different.
say sometimes more passionately in places I've been.
So we need to reorient our thinking a bit.
Mhm.
If Yeshua is passionate about bringing the full spectrum of his kingdom to this earth to be fully realized, and he is fully determined to bring it to Jerusalem,
Yeah.
then we need to reverse 1 Kings 12, where Jeroboam said, you don't need to go down to Jerusalem anymore. You can stay right here and find the same presence.
Yeah.
That was a political agenda. That was a religious agenda. And he knew that if the people's affections and focus was on Jerusalem, they might return to the southern kingdom. Denominationally, have we kept our focuses away from Jerusalem lest we get too far over in the weeds in that Hebrew stuff,
Yeah.
where we don't understand enough to really control it and direct it according to our agenda.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so let's take a sharp turn here. Let's talk about politics for a minute. Okay. Over the past week,
Okay.
we've seen the president, President-elect Trump. We've seen the what looks like the House and Senate. I saw that, and by the way, you'll probably be getting a call soon. Mike Huckabee and Ambassador Friedman were playing guitar together, so I'm sure they're going to be calling you to be the lead there or something, whatever you guys do. So we've seen all of these different things that have happened in the last week. I got a message from a friend of mine in Jerusalem just this morning, and he's like, Mike, your prayers are answered. Trump is it's going to be wonderful, wonderful. Another friend of mine at a winery, the owner, they posted the other day. They have a bottle of wine called Trump, and they were popping bottles of champagne when Trump won. I can tell you that I'm thankful at this point for the result of the elections. So I'm not in any way going off of that, backing off of that.
Especially given the alternative.
Yeah, because we both have grandchildren, and I just, as I told our congregation the other day, I just could not imagine the thought of what the next years could have been. So I'm not in any way saying anything derogatory against President Trump, President-elect Trump, the cabinet. I mean, I'm watching these people, and it's like, yeah, that's a great pick. I believe, but we don't know what's coming up. But I also received an email the other day from a rabbi in Jerusalem, and this guy goes back quite a ways. He's been in Israel for many years. Very pro-Zionist, very pro-Jewish, to the point of he doesn't have a lot of trust for Christians, so-called Zionist Christians, and that's his issues, that because of a lot of the hurt of his life.
Sure.
But after the election of President-elect Trump, he wrote an article which was basically saying this is a mirror image of what happened in Rome, with Rome 2,000 years ago. Rome came in the way of, well, hey, we're going to help you. We're your friend. We're going to give you support. We're going to give you money. We're going to do all of these things. And look what happened. In the end, Rome took control over Jerusalem and over Israel. Now, as a little sideline in the middle of that in the midst of that Roman control, Mashiach ben Yosef was born.
Mm-hmm.
if the image becomes a really great mirror for us, then somehow along the way, instead of a person riding into Jerusalem on a donkey, as Zechariah prophesies, we could have the greater Son of David riding in on a horse, but it will not be because of Rome or America. It will be because the prophetic scenario has been brought to its ultimate timing. So I got some mixed emotions and concerns here. Okay. This idea that people have that because you're a Republican, you're a Christian, and because you're a Christian, you're a Republican, and that you're right on everything. Maybe there's more to this than we really know right now, and we're just gonna have to wait out and see.
I mentioned in today's 10-minute Torah.
Yeah, which I haven't had a chance to listen to.
We have elected someone to lead us in the civil affairs of our government.
Yes.
So the role of the president is to defend the Constitution and to direct the administrations of adherence thereto, and to devise the best policies for the benefit of the people in this country. We did not elect a prophet.
Yeah. Or a pastor.
Or a pastor or an evangelist, certainly not an apostle.
Hopefully not a king.
President-elect Trump is to guard and guide this nation by the Constitution. You can go by the Constitution and not necessarily be scripturally correct.
Yeah.
So the idea that, well, we can have revival now because we have a different president, that's misguided. Electing someone to the role of president has no effect necessarily. Even if we had elected the other candidate, we could still have a divinely directed outpouring of Yah's presence and people's lives be changed and things happen according to his plan. It could have happened that way. It would have happened. Yah's will is going to be done one way or the other. But as we have now directed this choice, we should not just sit back and take our ease. The last time President Trump served, we were given 4 years in which it was a favorable climate to push righteousness and to accomplish those things, but we partied on the improved economy and rejoiced in low gas prices and lower retail prices and thought this is wonderful. What we also did is rejoiced in our American lifestyle, and we left off our affections for the land and for the coming of the Messiah. We got distracted. That came to a crashing halt just prior to the election in 2020. And we have been paying, in a manner of speaking, for those earlier choices for the last 4 years. We must not make the same mistake now. If you prayed for Donald Trump to become the 47th president, and you prayed fervently for that, Yah's heard and answered your prayer. But you must now double or even triple your prayer efforts, because what is coming is not going to be easy. I agree with you. I like some of the choices that he's making. I like what I'm hearing in certain things. But even if he is a success in all that he is endeavoring to do, it does not fix our nation, because our nation cannot be fixed by appointees and legislation. It must be restored on bended knees and broken hearts, crying out in prayer for our lost generations and for a restoration and renewed focus that is scriptural. There are very vibrant and stone-faced communities within our nation that are adamant that they're going to fill the streets in riots and protests and stalemating and roadblocking every effort to do anything. And they have an agenda of perversions, of altering the very identity of our children, of course, the entire abortion agenda goes without mentioning, but the list is long. And they are infuriated that their agendas have been stalemated to this point, that their candidate didn't get elected, that would have been open door for all of that. A new way forward in that direction. Well, we didn't choose that. And then they are they're incredulous in their amazement that how could we not have chosen this other path?
Yeah.
We had no idea that this nation would reject this, and they are dumbfounded and lost, screaming in their phones in their wrath. Yah sees that. If that agenda had been elected, then there would have been a minuscule amount of people brave enough to speak out in what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Returning to the kingdom, returning to a righteous focus. We've got a period of time, ever how long this lasts, to redirect the nation and its focus. And we can't sit back and say, well, Mike and Barry will do it, or, some other group will do it. No, it's us, all of us doing it together.
Well,
that's soapbox today.
The same war that was happening on November 5th in the spiritual realm was also happening on November 6th, and it's happening on November 13th. I'll finish with this. President-elect Trump said the other day he's going to return America, or give to America, a golden age. And I mentioned this to you yesterday. Gold in Scripture can speak of prosperity. It can speak of divinity. The tabernacle had the acacia wood that was overlaid with gold. But the same elements that make up gold was used in both the tabernacle and the golden calf. We have a choice. And the enemy has not changed his tactics so much. His desire is to win. And if he cannot defeat you through sin, he may try to defeat you through prosperity.
True.
We need to be on guard for both.
Amen.
All right. We're out of town.
We are. Right. Thanks for watching, folks. Thank you for any comments. I'm sure you might have some on this one. We're glad to read them and respond if it requires as much. And thank you for asking others to watch as well. And I think, Mike, we're on schedule to be back again next week.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
See you then.
See you then. Shalom, y'all.